So in later versions, Microsoft has bumped up the policy levels to say what flavors of security are you allowed to come in with. So, and in 2008 R2 is essentially Kerberos or you're out of here.
So they still allow on ours, which
You have to be an NTLM v2, right? And we can do that reasonably easily, but it's not there yet. So, and again, I'm not allowed to promise, but I am working on that. So. I actually had that implemented in my previous employer, who I came over here from Sun and Oracle, and it was in functional test and almost ready to be integrated when I left. So it's I believe it's pretty close to ready, and it's an issue just of how we get it integrated and tested in our product and so forth. So again, I just wanted to kind of cover gotchas about domain join. The pre-created computer account is, some organizations prefer that. They consider it more secure if machines aren't allowed to create their own machine accounts. And otherwise, it's usual, making sure that the account that you think you can use to create to do the administration actually has the privilege it needs and so forth. It's not hard to test that. I go into a little bit of that in troubleshooting. So I'm going to have to skip through probably most of the rest of this. I have a couple slides on troubleshooting and some pointers, and I'll wrap up with that and take questions. I'm going to say on this one, I go into more of this in the troubleshooting section. So I put this up here in part because I heard one of my colleagues the other day saying, yeah, don't use groups. In fact, you do want to use groups. They're actually the most powerful tool you have for doing security settings in the simplest possible way. And in general, simplest is going to be easiest for you to figure out what's right or not right. And inheritance is you want to use inheritance where you can. More things work correctly if I put it differently, there are fewer places with individual settings that you need to worry about if you're using inheritance. Fewer knobs. Yes, unfortunately. So I have some screenshots here. This is actually just a local disk. But if you point this at ZFS, or at a ZFS-based share, you'll see special access instead of these check marks for the canned, and it's because it didn't get the combination of bits matching. We're planning to fix that too, but it's just a matter of what the default sets of bits are. They're not what Windows wants to see, so you don't see just a simple screen like this. You see ... special access or whatever, because it's some oddball combination as far as, I think it's simply the matter of the sync bit having not been set, which shouldn't have any impact on our on our system. We can just set it. So anyway, you can just go into the security property editor and set it like this and say slam that ACL and you're good to go. It's just that the defaults you get when you make a file system may not be what Windows would ideally like to see. And then I think on the next one, yeah, I have this, if you look at the advanced, what I did was hit the advanced button on that screen, and you can see it'll show you the inherited from and the applies to. The inheritance bits basically the applies to folders, subfolders, and files is what you normally would expect to see, unless you're doing something tricky with creator owner to do a directory where anybody can create and they own what they create, but they can't mess with other people's stuff. You can do that with creator owner, and people, then you might have an inherit only ace. So anyway, there are good examples on the web for that stuff. That all works the same as it should. It should all work the same as it does for a Windows machine. Yes. Yes. It's full Windows style access checks in ZFS. It has very good fidelity in that regard. So in fact, yeah, the main areas where we have work that we need to do are actually in the protocol code, not above ZFS, thankfully. Well, there's still plenty to do. So this is another of the things we need to work on. We shouldn't ask customers to go into expert mode to do some of these diagnostic things, but the reality is today that that's the easiest way. As much as, you're going to get a big warning screen, this is not a general purpose operating system, hands off, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, okay. You're now an expert. So, so these are, you know, some simple things you can do. You know, like verifying the AD server lookup. This is, I actually wrote this from memory, so I hope it's right. But you basically look up that string, or you know, that DNS name. That's how the DC locator stuff works. An SMB ADM list will show you the connections that we have currently to domain controllers. That one's quite useful. Again, those really deserve UI exposure. I'm negotiating with the UI group about how we might do that. You know, and then the usual resorts. There's quite a bit. This product logs quite a lot. Particularly, you know, if you turn on the debug, if you enable the debug messages in the system log, and I'm less than 2 months with Nexenta. I don't know some of these details about whether we expose an easy way to turn on debug level logging, for example. But in the underlying OS, you certainly can. And adjust syslog.conf, and you'll get voluminous detail about exactly what failed and usually why in the various logs. So, and that's pretty much where I wanted to stop. There's another link that we can't see. There's a couple of resources here. The knowledge base on Nexenta.com is fairly easy to search through, and one of the main links you'll find, there's a Gen Unix wiki. I'm sure you can't see this. It says CIFS service troubleshooting that the OpenStorage group used to maintain. I'm not sure what the status of that is. We're trying to beef up our own knowledge base so that we're not dependent on that one. But right now, it's also a very good resource for troubleshooting tricks and so forth. Well, for people that haven't done it before, it's a little daunting. So, but no, I think it's just frustrating. You know, actually, the last time things like that silly LM auth level thing bite you, and you know, join just doesn't work, and it's kind of frustrating if somebody's giving you the hint that, oh, you need to go adjust that. That's why that one's particularly annoying. It's like your first interaction with the product, and it didn't work for you, you know. So it's like, yeah. And it's really simple. In fact, you know, it's been argued, all right, let's just make that the default. Well, one of the problems is that is a weaker, you know, LM off level 2 is a weaker security level. It turns off LNT, LMV2. It's, you know.
We have it in general in my environment is that, like me, we're setting up file servers. We don't have control over the authentication.
That's common, yeah.
But my experience has been is that a lot of vendors assume that you run everything and you can do whatever you want. So they say, fix your active record and do this. I say, I can't touch it. Or fix your LDAP and do this. I say, I can't touch it. It's provided.
Yeah.
I have no control over it. All I can do is live within the parameters they have. So you need to give me the option what I can adjust locally to live within whatever parameters they can show.
Yeah, yeah, that's not uncommon. But it's pretty typical actually that large organizations anyway have an authentication infrastructure which is hands off for all but a small team of people that walk in bare feet and white robes. Yeah, and unfortunately, so in the areas where we're a little bit behind on some of the security protocols, we get exposed in an environment like that for not having the latest protocol support. So, like I say, we're working on that. It'll take a little time. Okay. Pleasure. Thank you.